enjoy this.
Right, evening. Tomorrow morning, early. Evening, everyone. I'll get it right in a minute. It's been a long day. Yeah, it has been a busy day. So, welcome to November's Cabinet meeting on Armistice Day. Apologies.
Thank you, Chair. I've had apologies from Councillors Ely, Potter, Raven and Wilson.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Now on the agenda item. Okay. Okay. Right. Minutes of the meeting on the 14th of October. Can I sign those?
Agreed.
Public questions? We don't have any? No? So, moving swiftly on. So, members' questions. Questions on matters for which the Cabinet is responsible. Thank you, Councillor Jeeps, for notifying us of a question in advance, which I don't know if you probably want to read it out, and then Councillor Large will respond. Thank you very much.
On the 3rd of November, along with several other councillors, including the leader of the Chelmsford City Council, I received an email from a member of the public complaining about the closure of the Essex Regiment section of the Chelmsford Museum. This news shocked and saddened me. I was surprised members had not been made aware of this very significant change, given that the Essex Regiment artefacts have been on display at the museum since 1973. Is this a funding issue? Has the introduction of charges for entry not enabled displays to be protected? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your question. So the Museum of Chelmsford has acted as custodian of the extensive collections of the Essex Regiment Museum since 1973, as you say. As part of this agreement, some items from the collection have been on display, while many more have remained in storage. So with over 50,000 objects, it's a significant collection, representing almost half the total number of items that the Museum of Chelmsford has in storage. This high number of items isn't unusual for a specialist museum, but it's a lot of objects for the Museum of Chelmsford to manage alongside its own collections. Ultimately, this arrangement isn't sustainable. The museum's agreement with the Essex Regiment Museum Trust, which is a small independent charity that has recently announced that it will be dissolving, ended in March 2024. In the years leading up to this, museum staff have worked closely with the Essex Regiment Museum trustees and the Royal Anglian Regiment Museum Trust to explore what should happen next and to find a long-term solution together. I'm sorry if councillors feel they weren't appropriately informed of this. A press release on the Museum of Chelmsford's website on the 20th of October announced the change. This decision wasn't driven by admission charges or funding issues. It was about finding the best way to care for such a large and important collection. Deciding where items should be stored, looked after and displayed. Everyone involved agreed that the Royal Anglian Regiment Museum Trust, with its specialist knowledge and resources, is best placed to take on this responsibility. A dedicated committee is being set up to decide how and where the items will be stored and shown. They'll work with partners to make sure the Essex Regiment's story continues to be shared widely. The Museum of Chelmsford will keep a selection of Essex Regiment items and include them in its main galleries, which tell the story of Chelmsford from the Ice Age to the present day. For more information, please visit the Museum of Chelmsford's website, where you can find the original press release about it.
Thank you very much. Has the gentleman that wrote in received a response to explain this? Because there was a further angry email, which I understand because it's quite emotional and sentimental, particularly this time of year, and because of the history of it. I think it would be good to reassure him and the public that there are still going to be some artefacts displayed in the museum so that they can see them. Thank you.
Yes, so I will respond to him. I wasn't in the original email, so he wrote to lots of people, but not myself, so yeah.
Okay, so he will get a written response?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, yes, on that final point, I didn't realise, it was a very long list of people, but the one person it didn't include was Councillor Large, and I didn't realise that until quite late on, so I forwarded it to Mr Diath and worked with Councillor Large on a response, so yeah. Okay, oh, he also addressed it to the County Council, actually, so Right, are there any other questions for Cabinet members? No? Only as part of the report, yeah, sure. Okay, so moving on to the two financial items. Councillor Davison.
Thank you. I think, if I remember correctly, we're on to the Treasury Management, which is the mid-year report. I'm happy to go into detail if anybody wants to talk any detail, but it's a report that went through the Treasury Management and Investment Subcommittee. It is going on to Council in December. It's the same report that we get every year at this time, which updates on the extent to which we followed the strategy, and the answer is we have followed the strategy. And I'll say no more than that at the moment, unless there are any questions.
No, I mean, I'm on that committee anyway, and I'm aware of it, and it's full of good news for a change. So, mustn't complain. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Thorpe.
Yeah, just one minor question, really. Just on the CCLA fund, which I note is labelled the cautious fund, which may be the answer to the question, actually. But I noticed that has an annualised return of 3%. And it says in the report somewhere that officers are scrutinising it. So I just wondered what the minimum return threshold is that we're looking for in order to stay invested in that particular fund, given that it is, the report says that it is underperforming. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a disappointment as that specific investment, and we have now disinvested over 60% of it. And if you want any more details, then I'm sure that Mr. Reeves will be happy to provide them. But it's a fund that we've not been happy with. We've got rid of over 60%, and the remainder we will be getting rid of. But it's an operational decision for Mr. Reeves as the head of finance.
Okay. Nobody else? No? Okay. The second report then.
So presumably we need to agree that that one was agreed.
Well, so often you propose the recommendations, and I think so. Is that report
I propose
agreed?
that we note it and send it on to council.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, the other one is the local council tax support scheme, and on this we tend to have a mismatch in timing every year. It tends to come to council in February to decide on what scheme we want the following year, but by then it's too late to run a consultation on changing it. And it seemed to me that it would be better to give everybody the opportunity to express a view, if they have a view, as to what we should be doing with it. And hence it's a slightly odd report that is coming to Cabinet now. And if we agree that we carry on with the same scheme, then that can just go to Council in February. But the basic proposition is that you could make the scheme more generous at a cost, and we don't currently know whether we'll be able to afford that. You could make it less generous, but we wouldn't want to. And we also have local government reorganisation coming up rapidly, where we will have to find a single scheme for 28-29, which is not that far away, where schemes at the moment differ radically. So the proposition is that we stay with what we've got for next year and work out, once we've got a clearer idea of what the future looks like, what sort of direction of travel there might be. So I'm happy to take questions again.
Councillor Hyland, yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Just on the banding, anything above band D, are they receiving more of a benefit than others because of their household cost?
No, they're receiving less of the benefit, actually, because, as you say, the benefit is limited to band D. So I'm going to get slightly technical here, but effectively, if you are in Band H, you pay twice as much council tax as somebody in Band D. So the way this scheme works is it takes your liability and it knocks off a maximum of 77% of it. So for every £1, you would only have to pay 23 pence if you're in Band A, B, C or D. If you're in Band H, you'd be paying £2, but you can still only have 77 pence knocked off. So you'd be paying £1.23 out of £2. In other words, your liability is limited to 60-something% rather than 23%. So disproportionately, somebody in Band H would pay a lot more. There isn't anybody in Band H who qualifies, but there are people in Bands F and G who qualify, and Band E. And so they are all getting proportionately a lower amount of benefit, and therefore, pro rata, they're paying significantly more in council tax as a consequence of that rule.
So rather than proportionally and pro rata, could you tell me how much of the 7.9 million can be attributed to the higher bands?
Mr. Hawes may have the answer to that. I'm not sure I do.
Not immediately in front of me, unfortunately, but I can try to work
So,
it out for you.
Unfair question, I know.
we'll see whether we can come up with an answer and write to you.
Given, if I may, through the chair, given that we're talking about
Microphone.
Sorry. Given that we're talking about 160 people or so out of the 6,000 or so claiming council tax support, it's going to be a very small proportion of that 7 million.
Okay. Is that proposal agreed? Okay. Thank you very much. So moving on to Councillor Moore's statement of community involvement.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. So the next item before Cabinet this evening is the report on the Statement of Community Involvement. This important document sets out how we, as a council, engage with our residents, our partners and statutory consultees in shaping planning policy and in the consideration of planning applications. You may recall a Statement of Community Involvement was last adopted in 2020. So legislation requires us to review it now at every 5 years. A draft revised version was consulted upon earlier in the autumn, with responses received from statutory bodies, parish councils, community groups and individual residents. The feedback, which can be found within the agenda pack, has been carefully considered. And the revised Statement of Community Involvement, or SCI, now incorporates updates to reflect current practice, national guidance and local expectations. And importantly, it strengthens our commitment to meaningful, timely and accessible engagement while ensuring clarity on how consultations will be carried out. This is a key opportunity to reaffirm our pledge to openness, inclusivity and transparency in planning matters, ensuring that every voice in Chelmsford has the chance to be heard. You will see in the Cabinet report that this report was due to be considered by Policy Board on the 6th of November, and indeed it was. They reviewed the draft updated SCI and recommended approval to Cabinet. So Cabinet's therefore asked this evening to endorse the revised Statement of Community Involvement for publication so that it can guide our forthcoming local plan consultations and wider planning work. Thank you, and happy to take questions.
Anyone? Yeah, Councillor Armstrong.
Only one very small comment. I did put my feedback through a few of the different channels, parish councils and stuff. 3 of them I spoke to people about. The only thing is very disappointing how few people actually bothered to respond. I think it was 20 in total responses when we put it out on lots of platforms, over 7,400. It's just a shame and unfortunate that our consultations don't get more reach, especially when it's a consultation about consultations. So, but that's my only comment with it, and it's not a criticism to anybody, it's just a comment on the shame of that.
Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. Yes, I think we can all as members perhaps help raise the profile of this. I think we've all been consulted out in the last few months, but I just want to say a huge thank you to the officers as well for collating all of the responses, and Ms Robinson, who isn't here this evening, did an excellent job. Thank you for your comments.
Yeah, it's trying to get the public interested in a process issue, isn't it, really, rather than they want the outcomes rather than the process, but yeah. Okay, is that a report agreed? Thank you. So, yeah, moving on to the master plan procedure.
Revisions to the master plan procedure, item 7.2 in your packs this evening. Master plans, as you will probably know, are a key tool for delivering high-quality, sustainable development aligned with local plan objectives, and the proposed revisions to our master plan process underline our commitment, once again, to embedding sustainability and flexibility into the way we plan and deliver new homes and communities. The updated procedure that you'll find within the report will introduce more flexibility, with 3 clear routes and timescales for master planning. These are based on a site's scale and/or complexity, and the purpose of this is to ensure proportionality whilst maintaining quality. The more flexible approach will also help us manage growth effectively, providing more of the homes we urgently need sooner. Also flexibility for developers who we work with and without compromising on standards. The proposed change in approach was, I'm happy to say, unanimously supported by members of Policy Board last week at their meeting, when planning officers also gave a detailed presentation. I'm sure that Mr. Potter, who is here this evening, will be happy to take any questions arising from members this evening, and I fully support the proposals laid out. I hope Cabinet will endorse this too. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, having heard it all twice, certainly I'm delighted we're not hearing it all again, as there's no members of the public here. I think the only point that came up at Policy Board was the fact that we're adding here something that may indeed stay and will end up with more than we started with. It's if you got permission to put an extension on the top of your house and the builder couldn't do it all, but you built an extension on the side of your house, a little one, then in the end you'd end up with the extension on the top of your house and the one on the side of your house, which is not where you were going to start. And we're in the same sort of situation here to some extent, aren't we, in that the ones that, all being well, are just delayed but are going to get built beauty or whatever it happens to be, will end up coming back later on. Is there any mechanism here that prevents effectively double counting or double setting targets? Because that's what we're doing to some extent if we add these sites and then the others suddenly come back again. So is there a gap between the two, or do we just sort of hope that it works for 2028 or wherever it'll all come back again?
Can I just clarify, Councillor White, are you talking about the additional sites allocation, or
yes,
because this item's about the master plan procedure?
Yeah.
So, which is a different.
Okay, I was going to bring it in. No, I was going to bring it in here because
okay.
it's.
Okay.
We are in that situation with master plans generally, aren't we? That we are sort of we have them.
The master plan, we're trying to streamline it to speed things along. I'll happily indulge you if you want to rephrase your question.
No,
Actually, I'm popping back to question time. Have you got a question that you wanted to ask about something completely different? Sounds like you do. Was your question?
Well,
do you want to?
It's just that master plans as such are there available, and in the next item we're coming back to add additional sites to it. I'm just trying to make sure that the master plans don't sort of get sort of added to, because that's effectively what we might do if we're not careful. But you can take it.
I think we only have one go at the master plan. Mr. Potter, do you want to have
again? The master plans are there to ensure that the site allocations within the local plan are built out in accordance with the site policies and in accordance to national policy as well, and also to ensure that we create the highest quality places where people really want to live. So that is the reason why we have this additional process between the local plan allocation and the planning applications. So I suppose in answer to your question, the master plans aren't duplicating the allocations, they are delivering, helping to deliver the allocations and ensuring that we meet our policy objectives.
Yeah, Councillor Highland, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. In 3.4, you talk about those 3 different routes for developments to come forward. Are we having most problems with the first route? Is it the strategic developers that are not delivering, or is it one of the other 2?
Through you, Chair. I think it's a combination, I'm afraid. There's lots of people that aren't delivering at the moment, I'm afraid, and overview and scrutiny will be considering the housing and delivery, the annual housing and delivery report. I would say that strategic sites obviously have a lot longer lead-in. When there's lots of infrastructure that are required, complicated sites, we all know that those types of sites don't come out of the ground very quickly. And that's precisely why we've decided, while reviewing the process, that if we've got a one-size-fits-all and we're going for the highest common denominator, i.e. imposing all of those requirements on all sites, then effectively we may well be slowing it down for the medium and small sites. And that's the reason why we've chosen 3 routes with varying degrees of detail that are required and consultation that are required. So, I mean, in answer to your question, strategic sites are always going to be the most time-consuming and the ones that take longest. But what they do at the moment, if we think that it took a long time to bring Beaulieu forward, they deliver for a long time as well. So they keep on delivering for us and keep that supply coming through. So it's kind of an investment in the future in some regards.
Thank you. So in this document particularly, there are no new procedures that we're going to try and enforce delivery, or is that just beyond our scope of doing, right? I mean, we can ask, but whether we do or not is another matter, right?
Chair. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, we would like to be able to have more powers. I'd love more powers to be able to not just try and incentivise, require developers, but obviously where we don't control the land, that will be up to the developer, promoter and the landowner. We do everything we can to try and incentivise, nudge and cajole developers to build as quickly as they can.
It's something we put in our MPPF representation a year ago, saying that we want councils should have greater power to require development, and it's not a party political thing, it's something which all councils, we even said this at the county council, that we all feel that we should be able to set some kind of build-out rate and hold them to it. Do you want anything to add? You've got the minor amendment paper as well. The green sheet that isn't green.
Yes, sorry, yes. The minor amendment paper, which does clarify the pathway for this and the sort of the governance model. Ms. Brown, would you like to just clarify for anyone listening?
Yeah, it was just explaining that it's actually an officer decision in consultation with a member. I think that's all it's really clarifying, that it's not both taking the decision. It's not an officer and a member legally. It's an officer in consultation with the member. It's more of a technical point than anything.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, all right. Is that new report agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much. Right. So, Councillor Ely, as you heard, apologies, sent her apologies. So, next item, I'm just going to present that. She had another meeting to attend. So, this has come from the Licensing Committee and will go to Council. So, this is on a on a way through the process. We have to do this every 5 years, so from the 5 years is up, it went to licensing committee, went out to public consultation. There aren't any massive changes from the previous version. Does anybody got any questions on the licensing policy? Go on, Councillor Hyland.
I didn't have, but just on a point of if this is a document that is barely changed, finding the word that's barely changed, we could do with a marked up document rather than trying to find.
Yes, Chair. For the consultation, there was a marked up version with all the additions and changes, but I take the point, yeah, that's obviously gone out to consultation and come back to licensing committee to come here, but yeah, as the leader said, that there's not a massive amount of change. It's, yeah, okay.
Okay. All right, and that's recommended to council. Is that, yeah. Right. Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you. Right. Yeah, we're moving on. I now. Yeah, that's it. There's no urgent business, so I move the exclusion of the press and public under the security together. Yeah. Guys at the back, can we ask you to wait outside now? Thank you very much. Sorry. You weren't needed this evening, so it was a quiet night for you. If you don't come next time, then there'll be a problem.